Yeah, I think when you talk about shame, it brings up this interesting thing for me also because there's this other narrative about the family, right? And like this is present both in anti-CRT like rhetoric and also like discussion about gender, teaching gender and sexuality in classrooms, which is like that this is somehow destabilizing to the white family because it leads white children to question their parents and what they're learning from their parents. And I mean, the family unit is always like, I mean, where do you learn to be white, right? Like, where do you
Right,
first learn to be white, right? You learn it
right.
from your mom and dad, and like you learn those things at home. So like, it's so destabilizing and threatening to like the white family, which I think is a good thing. But um, for them, it's incredibly threatening because it again, it's a destabilization of power. If all of a sudden you've got kids being like, well, wait a minute, like what you're telling me about myself and the world that I live in and our family actually like doesn't make sense now that I know this context. And how do we change this? If you're like a couple of white parents who are exercising that authority in your home, like that's really scary.
And I think that that's why it's so intrinsically linked to Republican rhetoric of like the you know, like the family is being destroyed, and like
Yes.
why like they're like protection of the family and family values, because really what that is it's a guise for white supremacy.
Yes.
It's not an actually guise for actual family values, but they don't know how to actually separate white supremacy from what they think is family values.
Right. Because I mean, I don't know if this is going to sound like a bold statement, but I think I said in the last podcast, right, that ultimately the Republican Party is the party of white grievance politics, right? It's, I mean, they're always talking, they're always talking about, how damaging identity politics are so damaging, but like
They're the party of
Republicans
identity
are a white
politics.
interest. They are an interest group for white people. I mean, essentially, right? If you think about who they serve, right, and the kinds of like theoretical things they're putting forward and their platform, I mean, ultimately, right, it's a party for like white people that own boat dealerships. I mean, that's the demographic. And so, the question is like, do you how do you function? I mean, what does it say about like about America as it sits right now, that like essentially one of our two major parties is an organization of white supremacy.